Welcome to Attican Plays Workers and Resources, Soviet Republic. All right, hi, this is Attican and welcome to Series 4, Episode 27 of Workers and Resources, Soviet Republic. I thought we would start with something I never take the time to do, which is just appreciate the visuals of this game. I mean, this is a good look. Look at this. Here we are. Here's our original little village we built to go out here to our original moneymaker, our refinery. And then we added in the food and the alcohol, the distillery, and we expanded our village and expanded it even further to get people out there to work here. And then we added clothing and fabrics, and we expanded even more over here to get more people over there. Then we built out this village to get more people to the refinery. And our last growth down in this area, we built out a chemical plants down here, and we built this nice, I think really nice looking little village here, or city, or neighborhood, or whatever you want to call it, up here on the mountaintop. And I really like these builds on the uneven ground, on the mountains. I love the look of that. That looks like a real town to me. That doesn't look like some flattened out giant piece of earth that someone terraformed to death. This looks like something you'd see in the real world. And I do love how the people kind of live up on the mountain, or part way up the mountain. They don't go all the way to the ridiculous parts, but part way up and kind of train down to work. So anyway, that's enough of that. But I just wanted to appreciate for a second just how beautiful that is, and how cool it looks, and what we've accomplished. And we're not even talking about all the steel and coal and med school and the artist Gilmore stuff with the boards and the education and our coal town that's still being built. So and power, all that good stuff. So we've come a ways here in about 13, 14 years. So let's talk about what we want to do in this episode. Well, first of all, Yevgeny pointed out that this train was actually a little long. And it wasn't that the train was long. It's something, I'm not sure why this is, but given the fact that this train sticks out of the platform of the warehouse, and I run big trains, I don't run little baby trains, so you have to find some way to really cut that off. Otherwise, we used to have a road that ran across here, and this signal was always there, flashing the road signal, and the trucks that needed to come here would just stop. And there was a truck that needed to go over over here to drop off fuel for that refueling station. So I fixed that by building a bridge. So we've got a bridge here for the road that crosses over the railroad track, and it was pretty easy to build. You'll also notice we've got some more track that's going out through there. And that was another one of those, I accidentally built it. I had all this track planned, and I was going to show it to you as a plan. And then when I was trying to fix this, I inadvertently hit the delete track key instead of the delete signal key. I took out a section of track, and with that section gone, then that meant this didn't work, and I didn't want to take a chance on it not working. So I ended up building a whole bunch of railroad track. So I built a whole mess of track back to what we're going to talk about next. You also notice this white, which are planned pipes. Some of you already know what that's for, but I'll get into that in a minute. I'll get into it right now. As I said in the last one, I said, we won't supply this with anything for now. We'll just import. Well, for now was back last episode. So we are going to get into the oil business again and bring oil in here to our chemical plants. However, what we're not going to do is take oil from the Molna oil fields. Why is that? Because if we go over here to our refinery and look, we are not glutted with oil. We don't produce so much oil that we have extra reserves to bring in. We don't want to cut off. There's no point in taking oil to the chemical plants if it's oil that would have been used by the refinery. You haven't gained anything. There was no point in it. So here you can see now the good news is we've got a train coming in with a whole bunch of oil into that station now. In fact, well, it's just now starting to unload the oil. So we're supplying oil here, not importing a whole bunch. But we do not want to rob Peter to pay Paul in this case. So what we're going to do, what I did basically was say, okay, well, if I wanted to do that, what could I do? So I looked at my handy dandy mini map here and saw that right out here, there's a great oil deposit, and it's pretty close to where we are. We're building right along here, which is where the border is. So we're building right along the border. So if we go out here, this is Ernest Gilmore. These are the crop fields. If we go right out through here, and you'll notice this line that goes like this and follows the riverbed. Okay, well, if we follow that out, we'll end up right out here. And what we'll see is a nice big new oil field. And this oil field has 14 oil rigs in it. It's not nearly as big a deposit or area as the original Mona oil field, but that one has 39 or 40, 39 rigs in it. This one has 14. And I'm guesstimating, just extrapolating from the data from the other one, I'm thinking we're getting about 40-ish tons of oil a day from this, which will be great. And I thought I was going to actually hold off and do some more building and come back and show you all this. But I decided that this would be a good time to talk about maybe what I would think of as best practices for laying out your oil fields. Like, I didn't really get into that in when we did this one over here. And I do have to say I love the mini map for being able to just go zap. That was the whole point, being able to move around this giant map. So thank you, developers, for giving us that. Now, oh, and by the way, because some of you have been confused by this, I have switched over to run the test version of the code rather than the quote production unquote. I'm putting it in quotes because it's really early access. So rather than the early access version, I'm now running the test version because I wanted that mini map and I wanted to see how that bus stop was going to work. So I'm now running the test version. If you don't know how to do that, you can actually search for it on YouTube, and there'll be a video to show you how to do it. I've got a link to a video I watched for a few minutes just to see if it was any good. It is, that I can recommend to you to show you how to switch your Steam version over to the test version of the code. But anyway, let's get back to business here. What I wanted to do was show you kind of the steps I went through to build this out and make what I think is a pretty well organized, efficient setup for this oil field down here. So the first thing I did was I put in the oil rigs, and duh. But I want to show you what I did about that. Let me go find another good oil deposit that's in our land. It looks like maybe right there is one. Let me find one, just show you an example. So you grab the oil rig and you find some oil. So right in here, there's some oil. Now there are two ways to build. They both work. One is you just try to maximize the green. So you kind of say, okay, I want to get a spot where it's just green all around me. Then you go to the next one and you put the next one down where you're kind of maximizing the green. And you'll get like 3, if you want really, really good deposits, you're only going to get about 3 deposits out of this. Now let's go back here. And this is the method I've started using that I think I prefer. It's more expensive, but what I do is try to get at least 5 of those little dots going out into a decent deposit like that. Then I go over here and say, okay, where is it ending? And I go up and I try to make sure I've got 5. Let me go down a little bit. I get about 5 of those dots all around me. See how it kind of overlaps with this one? So we know it's not going to pull as much as it could if I put it like out here. But if I put it like this, it's still going to get a good yield. This is going to take what it takes. It's going to get a good yield from what it takes, which is this kind of darkened area around it. See the darkened area? And then if I go up here to my next one, I kind of watch the boundary and I go in, make sure I get about 4 or 5 dots all around me. That's a good spot. Then the same thing here. And notice how all my rigs are pointing in the same direction. So what you do is figure out which way you want to go to put your fuel loading and point everything toward that. So you go like this and you keep doing. You go on and on like this, and you can see we only got 3 using the other method. And using this method, if I go out to the edge, let me just go real fast here and slam them down. It's getting a little sparse out here. This is not a giant field, but oh, it's not bad. Here we go. Here we go. We can get some pretty good return right about there. Another one right here. So those 3 would probably give you about 5 tons a day, maybe a little more. So 15, 18 tons of oil a day. These will probably average around 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You get 24 tons of oil rather than 15. Costs you more to set it up, but I really think it's a good idea. We've seen what a great yield we're getting out of the Molna oil fields, so probably a great idea. So anyway, that's the way you kind of set up the rigs to start with. Make sure they're all gone so we don't have them out there. And where are we? Right there. Okay, back to our oil rigs. All right, so first thing, lay out the oil rigs. Got 14 of them on here. Then you go out to kind of the farthest away point and you pick like 3 of them. So right here, started with this one, and this one. And I figured out how far could I press them, how long can I go to get to an oil pump. You put in a pump and you run in all 3 of them, like so, into that pump. And then you kind of look to see where could I find either 3 more or where could I find a couple that would fit to a pump. And in this case, we had 3 more right here. So put those to this pump. And now we're kind of at the end because that's the end of the rigs. So now we've got this pump is going into a tank here. This pump going into a tank here. And then we go back again to our farthest back ones and do the same process. Here's 3 right back here. Put them into a pump. Here's 2 that could go into a pump. Then we put the pump into the third input on this pump. And now this pump goes to that tank. And then we still have these out here. So we take 1, 2, 3 of them and put them into a pump and then pump it directly into this tank right here. So now we've got, is that a tank? Yes. So we've got these pumped into a tank, this line all the way up down through here into a tank, this line right here into a tank, and that line into a tank. So we have potentially 9 times 4 is 3,600 tons of oil that we can store. And if you'll notice, the tanks are connected to each other in kind of an overflow situation. So if this one gets completely filled up, it will overflow into this one. This one would overflow into this one into this one. So basically, we have all 3,600 tons of oil storage that we can use. And this is where I goofed up on the one down in Molna. Molna is actually underperforming and has been for a long time. Or it was before we started running more oil trains. Because what would happen is there was the one down here. Let me see if I can find it. There was, it's this one right here. This one right here would have 900 tons in it because it had several, see, look at this. It had all this pumping into it. But I didn't have a good way to, I should have had another pump that it could have flowed into. Because what would happen is these would outstrip these in terms of performance and compared to how many tanks they have. This one would get full, which means that all these tanks are not pumping. But these are continuing to pump, and you want them all to continue to pump all the time. That's how you produce the most possible oil. And here we can see, look at this. Isn't this lovely, lovely, lovely? We've got a meat shipment going. We've got oil coming out. We've got Looks like an oil tanker coming down to get another load. Beautiful, beautiful. But let's go back to where we were. Okay. Again, thank you, Minimap. All right. So where was I? Okay, so you've got it all coming into this. You've got your overflow set up so that you have basically 3,600 tons of storage for oil. And then you just pump out of 3 of them. We have a pump going into this one. Now keep in mind, this one will just keep filling up, but then when these are drained, this pump will be able to pull. It'll be able to pull from this one, so we really can use all of these. And if we end up with more, we'll just put another tank over here that it could flow from. But, well, maybe. We'll have to think about that. I'll have to think about that one. But at any rate, this guy can pull from these 3 to start with, and this one if these are dry. So now we've got 3,600 tons of oil coming out of here that we can put into fuel reloading. I've got, then I said, okay, we need to connect this in with the rest of the world. So here's where I really did use the Minimap big time. I looked it over and said, okay, we're here. We want to go over here. And it would be just ridiculous to fight the mountains. Let's do it the way the real world does. Let's run our train right along the river. It's beautifully flat. I'm telling you, that was the easiest track laying you'll ever do. It's just flat, flat, flat. Just had to make sure it would fit through here between the fields and the water, and it did just fine. And we've got a nice double track running all the way back here to our chemical plants. So that was just super easy. Wasn't tremendously expensive. You're not building bridges. You're not building tunnels. You're just laying nice level track. And plus it also then kind of brings our overall freight line now. It extends it out here toward the middle of the map. So now if we want to grow out this way or over this way, we've got a natural way to hook into our freight line. So that's the plan. That's the deal with the track. And let's go back here. Now you'll notice the power lines. The power lines actually go here. It is running. The power lines actually go all the way over here to Znatov, I guess it is Znatov. So Znatov, I had no clue where I was on this. I'm actually up here. This map still has me frazzled. I'm still not sure what I'm looking at. But I was able to by using the map, I could see that by being here, the closest border is going to be this border. So then I just ran up this border until I found this spot, which turned out to be Znatov, which not only has the power, it's a large station, so it has 3 hookups and plenty of road hookups. So this will be a great place for us to move toward to do some more exporting later on of other products. So we have a power line that runs all the way down through here back to our oil fields. But the big thing about that is, you notice it comes on a switch and then goes over to a transformer to supply power to our oil fields. Well, that switch is there because we're going to we would need it to get this anyway, but we're going to extend this line eventually when our coal is ready. Remember, here's our meat town, and just past it is coal. You'll notice all this construction that's taking place. We've got our construction crews still building. They've been building and building and building and building, but they have finished one flat, and they've got other flats that are getting there slowly. And you also, when that's ready, what we'll do is extend that power line we just created, run it all the way over here and hook it up into a working power plant. And that way we'll be supplying the power and not importing it. But we'll start with import until this is finally done. And you'll also notice I'm doing an experiment. 3-foot steam railway suggested this, and others have asked me about it. Do the trees help with pollution? So we're going to put up a nice big tree barrier here between all this polluting coal and our city, and we're going to see if it does help. There's no documentation that says it does, but then on the other hand, that doesn't mean it doesn't, right? There is a lot of things are not documented in this game right now. So we're going to have this pollution monitor tell us if this stays green in here, even after these are up and running full bore. So that'll be a nice little test for us. And just to finish off the review, here's our steel mill, which is doing fine, 300 people in it. We are producing iron and iron ore at an extremely good rate. We're exporting both steel and iron, and we seem to be doing just fine down here. I haven't checked the pollution down here. Let me take a quick look at that. Look at that. It's creeping down in here. I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's just throw some trees in here. What kind would we like? Let's do the beach. Let's throw some trees. Let's just put a nice little line of trees through here and see if that has any help at all. This is picked up. I said it would eventually, but as we're growing population, we're getting more people in here, and we're doing better with that. And the other thing that reminds me, one of the things that need to start doing, I've said this before, need to get more into these error messages and clearing these things out to make sure that we're taking care of our people. Not doing a good job on that. Doing a good enough job. I mean, people are staying happy. Our overall population's over 30,000. We still have 0 21 plus. I don't know we'll ever get one because I built a lot of flats. And last year, how did we do last year? We did have some escapes, but we grew well more than we had more births than deaths, and throw in the immigrants, and we grew our population a fair amount. So we're looking good there. Money-wise, last year, how'd we do? We did all right. Nothing spectacular, but this number, the dollar number, is down a bit because I did a lot of construction in dollars. You can see 1.2 million in steel. And which begs the question, you're making steel, why aren't you using it for construction? We should be, but I'm not a good enough player. All right, so here we are with our new oil thing. So I'm going to build that out and start running oil up to the refineries. Now or the chemical plants. Now let me tell you how that's set up. The oil will come in. It'll come in here to a unloading station. It'll have a pump that takes it into a tank. That tank is connected to a pump which goes directly to, this one goes directly to this plant, and then over here to this plant. And then a pump on this side which goes directly into that plant and to that plant. So we have storage-wise, we have 900 tons there, and each of these has 20 tons. So we have 980 tons of potential storage for oil here in our chemical plants. Now, what I'm really planning on doing here, let's see, what do they eat up? They eat up, and it's interesting, if we'd looked at this just very, very shortly ago, there would have been 50 people in here. It kind of goes up and down. I'll bet you there's a whole bunch of people getting off here now. There they go. So this will go back up. This will go back up. Yeah, we're getting more people in. Here comes some more. Put about 20 more in here. It'll be about 40. See, it'll be almost up to max. So we're doing okay. We're doing okay on our getting these things going. We've got, we're pumping out the chemicals. I've actually run this train twice. It got up to about 30, and I sent it down to the fabrics. It got up to 30 again. I sent it to the fabrics again, just to get the fabrics ahead, so they wouldn't be importing chemicals when we've got them up here. But now I'm just going to let it run till it's completely full and let it do its thing, which for now is go to the fabrics, top it off, and then go export. So where was it? So I want to actually double this up. I'm looking ahead to what's coming down the road, which is going to be plastics. So we're going to do plastics, and plastics require 10 chemicals a day when they're running at full bore. And I'd like to do more than one plastics, and that's going to take a ton of chemicals, because the chemicals only produce a half a ton per day. So if these things are running at full blast we're only producing 2 tons of chemicals a day. So what I want to do is at least double this up, put another group of them over here, plan them in advance for having the oil brought in. We'll run the oil this time over this way and have a tank and do a similar thing as this. Perhaps a little different since I'm thinking of it in advance, but we'll put another chemical set of chemical plants over here. We'll extend our neighborhood, run the lines in so that we can get people over there, and that'll be kind of down the road. But the thing I really want to do right now, honestly, is a bit of an experiment. I want to take this new oil rig field, and well, we're going to cover it with a firehouse, right? So we're going to need a small town to support the firehouse, to support the oil rigs. And what I really actually want to do is I was going to ask you guys, which one do you think I'll take? Will I take the conservative route and just build a little town, or will I do something experimental and kind of out there? Well, you know which way I want to go. So we're going to go experimental, and I'm going to hold that off till next episode to show you what that is, because I haven't built it yet, and I kind of want to play with it and see if it's going to work. Well, it is going to work. It's just a matter of how well. So I'm going to build this out, and we'll run it with a fire risk at the first, just to get it going. And it's going to cost a fair amount. I mean, I've already spent a bunch of money on the railroad tracks. I kind of, as I said, sort of accidentally, but I knew it had to happen. We've got some connections to build. I got to get those built. Oh, no, actually we don't. We have a lot of pipeline. The pipeline is going to be 1.2 million rubles to build all this pipeline and the pipeline over at the chemical plants, but it's only money. So there we go. We got all our pipelines built. Now I'm going to go through and build all these up, and we'll start a train, and we'll start doing the. Well, let me do that. I'll kind of do that, and I'll come right back, and then we'll wrap up. All right, so I got all that built, and then I remembered main thing I wanted to tell you about building out these oil fields. Kind of a lesson learned for me from having done it now 4 or 5 times. What you want to do, you set your oil rigs, and then the next thing you want to do is forget about pumps and pipes, put in your road network. So what I tried to do was build a road from one that's farthest away, thinking I'm going that way toward where our fuel loading station will be, but build a road from the farthest one and run it by a series of them so that you're running a line all the way in, and then hook up the rest of your things into it. And at first it's just the rigs, of course, and then then go out here, same thing. I started at the farthest away, came in, and back here, same thing. Ran a line like that, and then kind of hooked everything into it. Then you set your pumps, the way I would describe it, where you get the 3 feeding in, or 2 and a pump feeding in, whatever, so that you get all your pumps set up and your lines into your pumps and your tanks, and then you make sure all those are connected to the roads. And then you do your wiring, of course. You have to bring in your high power, transform it down to medium, and then run your medium lines and do your usual switch substation kind of deal until you have everything powered up. And then you've got a pretty nicely well-organized thing. And the whole point is we're running everything down here, a road. We want our road system to come down into this area so that we can then put a fire station. We could put a fire station right there if we wanted to, or somewhere out in here that's going to be able to get to all of this. And I will probably, once I get a fire station, I'll probably go in and upgrade these to at least gravel roads, probably gravel, to make sure that we can get the fire trucks out there timely. But so then once you get all that done and you got all your power done, You got a road network that all hooks together so that you can know that you find your good spot for a fire station. Then our last thing to do to get it up and running is to go out to follow your power line. And this is where it's so weird. I'm not going that way, I'm going that way. And follow your power line to its source and start the import process. Import whatever we need, thank you. And then let's go back and see how that worked and make sure our power is on. It is. Is it around here on the far end? It is. Looking good. Is this guy working? Yes, it is. Are we getting oil? Yes, we are. All our tanks are getting oil. We are gathering oil from our new system. Notice I put in a diesel fuel station pretty close to here because I wanted it to be within range of the fire coverage as well. And what else we got? Now we just follow our track. We follow our track around all the way around here. The only thing left to build out actually is our fuel loading station up here. We'll do this in dollars close to the border. Dollars and dollars. Oh, and the tank. Now all we're needing to actually have a system is a train. So let's do a diesel locomotive. I still don't like anything any better than that. And let's do our tankers. Got those nice ones. Here we go. We can do 6 of those. We can set up a line that says go from, set up a line that says go here, load oil, wait till you're loaded, go here and unload all that oil. Actually, I'm going to set it up like this. I'm going to say top it off. Now we know it'll take it all the first time, but we're going to say top it off, and then we're going to have it go over here because we're going to anticipate overproducing. We're going to go over here and we're going to say unload oil, and we're going to even put it on top it off, and then we'll have it make a trip here, getting real optimistic. Why don't you run in there and sell off all the oil that you have left over, which will be none. But okay, so you load up down at our new oil rigs, you come to the chemical plants, you unload, top off the chemical plants, you go to the refinery and top it off, and then go export the rest. And go, can't reach the first position. So why can't it? Oh, I've got broken track. Where is that? I'm a little surprised by that, but it's nice that it told me. That's an improvement over the very early iterations of this game. To fix that, we're going to have to get rid of some. And of course, it's going to be difficult. Of course it is. Of course it is. Oh, of course, it's going to be very difficult. Oh, man. It's coming down a hill. working from the bottom up really seems, over a long stretch, seems to be the most efficient way to lay track when you're dealing with terrains. There we go. That was the only problem we had. Good deal. So we'll ride out following this train as it goes off to pick up oil. So now we should be able to supply oil for our chemicals, perhaps add eventually some more oil into the mix for our refinery. And this one, see, because it was occupied, this one's doing what I thought they would all do, those earlier ones for the chemicals. It's going to go down here to this roundabout after it fills up with diesel fuel. And that's actually a goof up. I need to look into that. Whenever somebody's filling up, it makes this train stop because of the way this junction's created. But now we're getting enough trains, that kind of thing matters. But now they're all going. And as soon as this goes through, he will loop around and go back to where we want him. So I need to look into that and clean that up, because that is causing a little bit of delay. We're starting to have a reasonable amount of trains, nothing big, but we've got a few trains going now. So now we can take a nice view and ride back through by our fabric and our clothing stores, see other trains coming. Watch us. We'll take the passing lane. Here we go. We're going to take our Yevgeny extension and go on our merry way on around here, bypass the refinery. There's the area where here's the area where we had our trouble with our disconnection. I put that crop circle in there as a future in case we want to hook into our line. Now we're heading into our fuel station. Let's see how we do here. Whoa, pretty well. We're doing pretty well. This is pumping, means all that is, when it loads that fast, all of that was waiting for us. Oh wow, outstanding. This is better than I had hoped. Oh, that was beautiful. That had a full load. Let's go back here and see what we got going on here. This is beautiful. Look at that. Look at this. This is gorgeous, folks. Oh, we're getting very good production here too. Four. Oh, this is 6. Oh my word. This is actually much stronger than I had hoped. Wow. Wow. Oh, these are way stronger. At 3.2, that's more what I was expecting, but these are all like 5s. Oh wow. That one's more like it. Okay, we're getting very strong oil here. Outstanding. I just wonder if our train can make it back in time before it fills up. There he is on his journey. Now we're going to ride the train a little bit more. It gives us a chance to rebuild our money too. I just spent a lot of money, in case you hadn't realized it. Uh-oh. You should not stop there, so stop. All right. All right, can anybody tell me what's wrong? I love this. Why is that train stopped? Well, I will tell you. Because he's actually stopping himself, it looks like to me. No, is that right? That can't be right. Why is he stopped? All right, let's look at the signals. We chain in, we single exit out, chain in. Now this is a chain to go into either one of these two. I'm going to remove that signal so he'll go ahead. Now this is a chain into this. So I get this. He is stopping himself from going into these two because he's trying to go into here, but he's also in this crop circle, this roundabout, and so therefore this chain is looking into here and saying, hey, you can't go into this roundabout. He should move now. And we will put an exit right here. That should be better. Okay. Now, there we go. This is what, now see, look at this. Now all these guys are full of oil. They all have 20 tons of oil. So they will stop importing oil as long as we have a supply. He's going to keep pumping it, and I'll tell you what, because we've got so much down there, I'm going to take off. I'm going to take off these two extra stops. Do a little micromanagement here and have him go right back and get another load as soon as he unloads. Okay, he's back, and look at all this oil that was waiting on him. This is tremendous. Absolutely tremendous. Off he goes. 300, 450, 750. There's about 1,200 tons of oil in there already. Man, we could run 2 trains already out of this. Well, I tell you what this has inspired me to do, go back there and fix a couple of little problems in our nice bigger oil field, which should be producing even more. Now, keep in mind too, though, this one over here is not getting so many 5s. Well, 3.96, that's not bad. 2.91. 462, 446, 4. No, these are really strong. So the problem I mentioned was this guy here. He goes straight to the pump. He really should go to another oil field. But the reason it doesn't matter anymore, the reason we kind of, quote, fixed this, unquote, is that we have these 2 trains now dedicated to coming down here, grabbing full loads and going up to the refinery. So we are pumping oil out of here. See, this guy's coming in to get another load as he's heading out. So we have trains running more frequently. If we didn't have these trains quite as fast, or in the early going, as I said, this right here should have had an overflow pump that then went into this pump right here, an overflow tank. This should have gone to a tank to double the storage so that we could keep these pumps moving. That was a bad mistake. But right now it's kind of, it doesn't matter. So our trees have all grown up. Of course, we're not creating any pollution yet. Have we finished anything else? No, not really. Our construction crews are still constructing. We'll let them keep going. I'm not going to, I've just decided this is not coming up until the construction crews have finished all these flats. And when they do, we'll come back here and turn on our power. But honestly, I don't miss it that much right now. Importing the power works just fine. And okay, so we've got ourselves a very successful oil field down here. I will watch this for a bit offline, and I have a feeling that we're going to need at least one more train to run. And the beauty of this is we can supply more than enough oil for our chemical plants, including more of them, and our plastics, which also need oil. And we can, I believe, supply more for our refinery and make sure that we just cut out the import of oil. So this could just be very, very nice. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it'll help you become a better player, and I hope you'll join us for our next Workers and Resources Soviet Republic video. Thank you.